football is your job. That's your career. That's all you're doing, and you get a ton of free time. But it's not essentially free time, because if you put that time into your body, that's work, because that's what's going to put food on the table. That's what's going to keep you on the field, and that's what pays the bills. So like a lot of guys, like especially rookies that come in, their first spring, they're like, man, I have all this free time and I have all this money. Like, let me go on like a lavish vacation. Let me go enjoy this money that I have. Enjoy this new status that I have. But like, no, like honestly, bro, like you look back and you think about it, like you have your senior season or your last season in college. You go straight into training, preparing for the draft. You go into combine, senior bowl, or whatever collegiate bowl that you do, and then right after that, you go into rookie minicamp. Right from rookie minicamp to OTAs to vet minicamp to training camp to the season, and beyond to playoff. And fortunate enough to go to the playoff.
All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Myokinetic Podcast. Today we have an awesome guest, a good friend, great patient, great football player, and just representing the New York Jets. So like, I'm so happy to have him on this podcast, just because we get to talk on some really cool stuff about his upbringing, his journey, on and off the field, and who he is as a person, who he represents, which is more than just a football player, a husband, a son. And I'm just so excited to have him on the show today. So Laken, welcome to the show, man.
Man, thank you so much for having me on, man. I've been trying to get on for a while, man. I appreciate you making the time for me.
Of course. No, thank you. I know you're busy. So obviously, just a little bit intro on you. Like, obviously you play for the Jets, Laken Tomlinson. You guys can catch him almost every offensive snap. And it's been a blessing for us here to have him work with our team. But even for me, man, like just to get to know who you are as a person, I think it's really widened my perspective on like different walks of life, right? Because we all have different paths, different journeys. So the reason I wanted to have you on is to share your path, because I know as a pro athlete, people only see what you put out on social media, and most of the pro guys, they tend to just put out game day picture, family picture, but really I think there's more depth to who you are as a person, and I would love this opportunity to just expand on that a little bit. So if you don't mind, can we get rolling?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, obviously when it comes to like social media and stuff like that, what the fans see, our interactions with our teammates, and when we play the games, that's what they they want to see. That's what they they pay to see. They come and watch the games. They want to see football players. But obviously there's much more to athletes when it comes to their personal life, what they're doing on their free time, if they have any free time, really, because this job is so demanding. But just a little bit more about myself, man. I was born in Jamaica, actually. I came to the States in 2003 from Jamaica to Chicago, which was a huge culture shock for me.
Yeah. A little more cold in Chicago.
yeah, a little bit more cold.
Yeah.
But I've never seen snow before. We came in March and it was snowing. Very excited for the first 20 minutes, and then afterwards, we weren't so excited because we didn't have any sweaters. We didn't need sweaters in Jamaica, so we were just like stuck at the airport. We were like, hey, like can't go outside, it's too cold. So my uncle had to run home and grab some sweaters and bring them back to the airport to pick us up. So that was like my intro to being living here in the United States. And we lived in Chicago. My grandpa, he is a father to 10 kids. And my mom being one of the last ones, so we were one of the last groups to come up, because he came here to work in the States to get all of his kids and his kids' kids to the United States, for, just for a better future. And so we started living in Chicago. I went to high school there. I knew nothing about football, man. And honestly, it was just like very difficult for me personally, trying to adapt to like the school system, and just like navigating myself in Chicago. We were like in Chicago, man. So like a lot of crime, especially when it got warm. I couldn't really go outside, and just going from Jamaica, where I had a ton of open space, a ton of free time to kind of express myself as a kid, to we live in an apartment where we had I couldn't tell, like 10 people minimum, in such a cramped space. And, it was hard as a kid. So, thankfully, when I came to the States, I my first summer here, I gained 80 pounds. And
no processed food there in the States. Chef Boyardee is always good
oh
stuff.
my God, man, it was crazy. So I never had a burger before. There's a McDonald's right there. Never had pizza before. Pizza Hut right down the street. Man, my grandma would always keep our fridge stocked with these big jugs of ice cream. You remember like the Napoleon ice cream?
Dude, yeah, 3 different colors. Come
yeah,
on.
3 different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we always had a jug of ice cream in the fridge. Whenever it was done, there was another one in there the next day. So I was
like
just
a magic fridge
yeah,
that just
man,
keep restocking.
That's what it was. So I just kept on eating, man, and I just blew up. My mom saw that. She was like, "You got to get out the house. You got to go do something." So I'm there. I was like, I can't. There's nothing to do outside because we can't go outside. There's so much, violence, gang activity. And then my uncle actually recommended football. At the time, I was very confused. I didn't know what football was. I thought
it was soccer.
I thought it was soccer. So I told him, like, look at me. I can't play football anymore. So I can't play soccer anymore. He was like, no. How about American football? You put on pads and you go out there, you hit people, and you can have fun doing that. And I was like, I gave it a thought. I was like, you know what? Anything to make my mom happy. So I gave it a shot. I remember I went out for just like a junior league one time, and I had no idea what I was doing. I just showed up, put on some pads, and the guy told me, "Hey, go get the guy with the ball." And that's what I did. I was like, okay. So I had a lot of fun doing that. But then I went to high school, and I tried out for the freshman football team. And when I showed up my first day, my coach was extremely confused. Coach Rio. He said that when he came back and told me the story, he said when he first saw me, he thought I was a college football player coming to just like look at the practice. And he came up to me and my mom. He was like, "Hey, can I help you guys with something? Like, what are you guys doing here?" And my mom just said that my son's trying out for the freshman football team, and he was just like flabbergasted. He didn't know what to say. He was like, "Well, yeah, he's in the right place. When do you guys want to start?" I told him, like, "Hey, coach, I'm ready to go whenever." So he was like, "Hey, you can start tomorrow. We'll get you the pads and everything you need. You can start tomorrow." So I showed up tomorrow, got all dressed in the locker room, ran out. I was going over to the freshman practice, and my coach said, "Hey, no, you go over there." And I looked over, it was all these other big, football players. I was like, Coach, isn't that the varsity team?" And he was like, "Wait, what, are you scared, son?" I was like, "No, sir." So I just ran over to play varsity football. Barely know what football was. And, I thankfully I had a lot of fun. I got beat up on a lot, but I had a lot of fun, man. And, that took me, ended up playing 4 years varsity. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Duke University. It was, one of many scholarships I got. And, went there, did great, and here I am today, man, playing for the Jets.
Man, I love your story, and I don't know if you noticed, but we have so many parallels, dude. Like I moved to the state in 01. I was 12. I don't know how old were you when you moved to the state?
I was like 11.
All right, so we're again similar thing, right? I moved here to New York, New York, very nice neighborhood, not like Chicago. But I moved here because my mom, family friends opened a Thai restaurant, and like, there's no Thai restaurant in a bad neighborhood. No. A lot of Chinese food.
Yeah. Yes.
But we were fortunate in that end. But I moved here during the fall. I've never seen leaves in different color ever.
Really?
And I've never seen
the leaf changes.
Yeah.
Oh,
never
wow.
seen that because it's the same. It's tropical.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And I've never seen city in blocks because we live in like the mountains, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah.
City in blocks. What the hell is this? I remember the first meal I got was pizza. Because in Thailand, we had Pizza Hut, but we only go to Pizza Hut on like a special occasion.
Yes. Yeah. So in Jamaica, we had KFC, but like nobody went to KFC.
KFC was like literally like, it has to be someone's like 20th birthday, big anniversary.
Wedding or something, get some KFC, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But like as a kid, we just never did it because we just like, you need money to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And we just, didn't really want to do that.
Yeah. And I didn't eat beef when I was growing up.
Really?
Yeah, because I was Buddhist and we just don't eat meat. So when I first got here, my mom's like, yeah, you gotta start eating meat because that's all we have. So we went to like McDonald's, having McDonald's for the first time. Like it's weird, but now I'm like, oh, I still love a Big Mac.
Every
dude,
now and then he can do a Big
The culture
Mac.
shock is crazy. So what I wanted to ask you, just to kind of go back to your childhood a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, what were your expectation of America before you moved here? What did you?
Well, so like growing up, we'd always see like the movies, New York City, the American lifestyle, and I've always imagined America being just this fantastic place, fantastic place of just infinite opportunities, and that was like in my mind the American dream. Like you can do anything here. When I first came, to the States and realizing what was around me, yes, there are infinite opportunities, but there are also a lot of chaos and danger as well if you don't know how to navigate yourself. And unfortunately for us, we weren't really equipped to navigate in the environment that we were in. I was extremely lucky, growing up in Chicago. I was fortunate enough to match up with a mentor, Bob Sperling. I did a mentorship program in my 8th grade, and quite honestly, he's been a family friend ever since. Him and his family opened up their household to me, and I was able to, learn a lot from him, like a father figure, really. My mom, she came to the States, single mom, 4 kids, and so it was extremely tough for her to, kind of get us in line, but also work to support the household. But when I met Bob, he had a son, Jared. He was my age. So I got to learn, about how to be a young adult in Chicago, how to navigate myself, how to take care of myself, how to take care of my business. Hands down, my mom, kudos to her, man. She made education number one, and Bob understood that. She was like, hey, like I'd go spend some time with his family on Sundays, and he was like, hey, the first thing you got to do, make sure all your schoolwork is done before I even say one word to you, before you even sit down and talk to Jared, before we have a meal. You go do your homework, make sure it's done, and then I can talk to you about just life or anything. So it was I thought at the time it was the coolest deal, man, because he had a son at the time, and I think it was actually beneficial for both of us because we can learn from each other, obviously with different backgrounds, but us being so close, and we essentially I grew up together. He actually lives here, work here in New York. I learned so much from his family, and I'm sure Jared learned a lot from me as well. It helped me a lot when I was going through high school. Helped me a lot, and his mentorship extended beyond the program, and till today he's still my mentor. I called him yesterday, just talking about football, life, being a father, anything. And he, man, kept my head on straight because my mom just didn't know a lot about what was going on in Chicago. Didn't really had the tools to educate me about how to protect myself when it comes to the crime, the gangs, the negative stuff that surround the city. So, but Bob really came in, and man, he helped me a lot. I owe him a lot of thanks. Keeping me in the straight path, because I've seen so many examples of just young adults in Chicago walking down the wrong path and involving himself in the wrong type of people, the wrong type of activities, and I've seen extremely talented athletes, way more talented than I was, just never got a chance to fully express what they really could do because they just didn't pay attention to their grades or didn't put in the extra time into what they wanted to do versus what they needed to do versus what they wanted to do. So I got to thank Bob a lot, man, because he kept me straight, man. And man, like I'm really, really fortunate I had someone like that in my life.
I think having like a mentor or even have like a community really help like young people navigate through life, because life is tough, especially as a teenager, right? I mean, like I remember when I first moved here, like in the beginning, like my parents were home in Thailand, right? Because it's a normal work day for them. But when we moved here, they work in the restaurant business, so they weren't home at all. So went from having 2 parents in the home to have no parents in the home because they have to work. And now it's just my sister and I'm just like, all right, well, I have all this free time. And plus, like autonomy without any restriction or without any confinement, it's actually like it's detrimental to your health because you can get into anything because there's no one to tell you no.
No, yep.
And I think I feel like when I moved here, there was a lot of yes for everybody and not a lot of no. Where when I was in Thailand, I have so many regimen, so much structure. When I get here, there's a lot of yes, there's a lot of possibility, which got me down the wrong path in some way where I was hanging out with the wrong kids. I mean, my one wake up call moment was I was hanging out with a bunch of kids, and we're just like kind of egging each other on, and then like we ended up just like shoplifting in Target, stealing some Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I got caught, and the police was called. My mom would call. They have to come pick me up. I mean, dude, it was like the most embarrassing moment in my life, but also like it's a huge wake up call where the next day I'm just like, yeah, I can't hang out with these people again.
Yeah, man. You sit there and you look, where your life is going, the direction of your life, and you really, feel the decisions that you make impact your life. And, and honestly, like I have an older brother, and, he wasn't as fortunate as I was when he came to the States. When I came to the States, I had a chance to actually like test into a high school, but he never had that opportunity. So he ended up going to, a not so good high school, and he had a really tough time, man. And I saw it firsthand. When it came to drugs, when it came to crime, when it came to just gang related activities. So I saw that within my household, and I knew what he could do to you. Thankfully for him, man, he got all of that stuff, man. He decided to go to the Army. Now he lives in Atlanta. He's a real estate agent. But just having him go through that, and it was extremely tough. And I just thought to myself, wow, if I just came, 3 years later, he's 3 years older than me. If I just came 3 years later, I probably would have done the same thing that he did. Because
3 years before.
Yeah.
You came in
if I came in the same age that he was, I wouldn't have had those opportunities. So, in that type of sense, I was like extremely grateful when I came the time I did, because actually I had the time to, at the time to kind of like shape my future, where he didn't really have that much time. And I really hurted him. I mean, he definitely bounced back from it, but it really, really hurted him.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about when you were kind of navigating yourself through like the whole new environment, new world, new country. How do you like, what is your guidance when it comes to your moral compass? How do you know when your parents are not home, when your mom is working? How do you know, like, what is a good litmus test that you can offer advice to young people that listen to this, as far as like, how do you make the right call that will impact you today and also impact you into the future?
So funny enough, my mom was like extremely strict. So, I grew up like, my mom would tell me stories like she would get whoopings until she was like 18. So like, I just had the expectations in my head. Like if I got into any trouble, either from school or just within the community, that I would get in trouble with her. And I was scared of my mom, man. She's a 5'2", old school Jamaican lady. And I was at this time probably like 6 foot. So I'm scared of this little person. I was like, yeah, because I know what she can do. But no, man. So my mom, it was like a combination of my mom and my mentor, and also being involved in a lot of just like after school activities like sports. I did in high school. I did football. I did track. I did wrestling. I did basketball. I did chess. I just did a lot of things because I knew. There's a higher chance for me getting in trouble or, giving into peer pressure or, other, stuff that, I probably shouldn't be doing if I was, just out hanging out with my friends or, doing stuff like that. The same story that you had with your friends. I just knew there was a higher chance for me doing that. So I just kept myself busy. Kept myself off the streets, and, ended up working out for me, man. But, I still would, go back and see, some of my friends, who did, hung out with their friends 3 hours after school. We're doing all the gang stuff, we're doing all the drug stuff, and see how that impacted them. And like, honestly, it definitely starts with a good foundation, and I thank my mom for that, because she definitely instilled a good foundation in the kids. Even it didn't really work out for my older brother at the time. It was hard, especially seeing all that stuff, him succumbing to like peer pressure and everything in the environment impacting him. But, I really was able to see that, and like okay, that my brother's going through this. I'm gonna make sure that I don't do it. So not only did I had firsthand example at home, but I had my mentor. He who's constantly talking to me, giving me advice, and normative bonds with friends that I have through the sports I did. It kind of kept me in line, man. So like my major advice is like just be careful like who you surround yourself with, and always try to put yourself in a position where you can hone some of the skills that you will learn at a young age. Because like when I was growing up, no one told me that, hey, like sports is going to be good for you. It helps you with your mental discipline, your conditioning, overall body health, and all this stuff that like me and you, we pay attention to today is second nature. As kids, you don't pay attention to that stuff. Waking up early, getting to school on time, like all those things that you practice at a young age become second nature in for adults, successful adults like you and myself. That's some things that people miss out on. They don't have that guidance. You'll have someone telling them growing up like, hey, waking up early is extremely important. Having that discipline is extremely important at a very young age, because this is something that you're going to have to do when you're an adult.
Yeah. So can we talk about you having that discipline at an early age? How did that help you throughout your college career? Because Duke is this damn close to being an Ivy League, right? So that's got to be a huge judgment for you as well.
I mean, I have to admit, man, like my first semester at Duke was definitely a wake-up call. Especially coupling the stress of competing with all these other kids that came to school for just school. I was also a football player, and just having the time commitment to football and the time commitment for school, it was extremely difficult.
And you actually have a real major.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I double majored in psychology and evolution anthropology, and I also did pre-med at Duke. So I was in school, man. I was in school all year round. I did both summer sessions, and for the 4.5-5 years I was there, I redshirted, I was in school the entire time. So I really never came home because I was just always taking classes.
So I think the point you brought up was really profounding, where you are competing on the field of someone who just their whole life is football. You're competing off the field and on an academic field with people who their whole life is all about school.
Yeah. And I still remember this. Someone told me when I was in high school that when you get to college, especially a college like Duke or any Ivy League school, as a student athlete, there's 4 things. There is your sport, which for me was football. There is obviously your schoolwork. There is social life. And there is sleep. And as a student athlete, you can only really choose 2 of those. So when I came in, obviously freshman, all this free time. So socializing, I picked that. And then obviously football was a non-requirement. So what really hurt me in my freshman year was obviously sleep and my schoolwork. And I had a big wake-up call. I was like, wait, hold on. Like, if I keep on this trend, I might flunk out of school at Duke. If you get an F in any subject, you're suspended.
When was the wake up call? Was it like?
It was like halfway, like midway through my first semester. I was like, oh my God, like I have to hunker down, like seriously hunker down, or else I won't survive.
Yeah, because the first year is all wean out classes.
Yeah, it's all weed out classes.
Yeah.
All weed out classes. And I was fortunate enough to meet my wife my freshman year, and we first started dating, became study buddies. So
it's a classic.
Yeah.
Thing for
Oh
guys
my
to
God.
do.
So obviously the social life came to a minimum. I was spending a lot more time in the library versus just out and meeting friends and like partying or whatever what freshmen do. And I was still doing well in football. So, but I'm still losing sleep. And, what was the 4th thing? So the social life definitely went down extremely a lot. And football was still there, but still lose sleep. And what was school?
School, yeah.
Yeah, school was still very, very hard. So, but getting rid of the social life helped me a lot with school because I had the time to study. So I had the time to study. Me and my wife became study buddies, and we just kind of piggyback off each other because we had the same major. She double majored in psychology and biology. She also did pre-med, so we took a lot of the similar classes. But obviously her path is a lot different than mine because I'm also a football player. I have to have the time commitment for football versus, she's just there for school. So like all my pre-med classes I take over the summer. and they're accelerated. You get the 10 weeks.
I took
you know,
those. Those are not fun. Yeah.
You take the 10 weeks, during the regular fall spring session, and
you can't even digest those information, man.
I
You're
know.
you're just studying to pass the test, and then next year you're like, oh, I gotta go back and recall those things.
Yes. So that's pretty much what it was for me, but I just never stopped. Never had a break.
Yeah. There's always this false sense of belief for young people, and this is my observation, is that you can have everything. And the older I get, I realize that you can only have certain thing that is actually meaningful to you.
Right.
So like you can't go out all the time and expect to do well in the field, expect to do well on academically, and expect to like have a good relationship with your partner. That's not a thing. I had a similar wake up call too when I went to Maryland. My first report card, I had 4 Ds. And I was like, at this point, I transferred in as a junior, and I took out student loan on my name to pay. So I was paying for my own education, and I'm just like, oh my god, dude, I'm literally just taking out $80,000 just to get these, and that's when I shut everything off. And just like you, I actually ended up forcing myself to get 3 jobs.
Yeah,
because I wasn't playing sport. I was like, if I work, that means I have to structure my day based on my work. If I work out, at least I can take care of my body, and then the rest I'll just study.
And I mean, that's one of the things that we learn, going through something like that, is it forces you to be better at time management. So that was like the major skill that I learned my freshman year, was time management. I had the discipline and the kind of just like the foundation of discipline coming out of high school. But like the time management was a skill that you had to learn to be able to get everything done that you needed to get done. Not everything that you want to do. Like obviously you want to, enjoy your time. You want to enjoy your time with your friends. You want to enjoy the experiences that you have. But sometimes that's just not might be in the cards for you, to be able to do all that stuff, because you're there for a purpose. You're there you'll get your degrees, right? Yeah. So like if you understand that sacrifice and you know where you need to go, you make the time to be able to do all that stuff. And that's just what I did. I realized at the end of my freshman year, I was like, this is the path I had for myself. And to actually finish both my majors and finish my pre-med requirements, it required me to go to school nonstop for the rest of the time I was in college. And I had to ask myself, like, can I commit to doing that, like to realizing that I won't have a break to go home at all, really? It may be maybe like a week or two every now and then between, fall and spring, but like I won't really go home at all to finish, my majors. And even like looking back on it, I'm like, man, I'm in the NFL now. If I ever want to go to med school, I'm gonna have to go retake those classes anyway, but I still did it. And I know I could do it because that's how I manage myself.
And you have more time.
I have more time.
Yeah. So
I have a lot more time. Yeah.
Talk me through about making that commitment, and how do you deal with that negative voice where you question yourself, like, man, can I even keep this going? Like, I'm not even good enough. Because we all face it. We're all human beings. Of course. How do you deal with that
I mean, like, obviously with the stressors of, performing in the football field, it was extremely tough. And I'm still competing with all these kids who are coming in to get good grades in school. So I had a particularly hard time. I mean, I asked for it, but I had a particularly hard time when it came to managing my expectation level on the field and in the classroom. But I put the pressure on myself, and I told myself, this is the challenge I'm putting on myself if I wanted to get to where I need to be. I always wanted to get my degree. It's the reason I went to Duke. Always wanted to get my degree. They say your degree at Duke will last you longer than anything, 50 years plus, whatever. So I was committed to get my degree. Even when I was a junior, they told me that, hey, you have an opportunity to go get drafted as a football player, NFL football player. But I was like, well, yeah, but I'm 3 years in. I had this all planned out, and I've sacrificed so much of my time already. I would feel bad if I don't finish and risk, getting injured next season, not getting drafted, or finish getting my degrees, have a opportunity or a chance to improve my status as a rookie coming out, or get drafted higher than I was predicted to. So I understood that risk, but I was like, I'm committed to the process that I had planned out for myself when I was a freshman, and I had to finish. There was just not even a thought about it. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna go on and get drafted my junior year. I had this plan to get these degrees, my entire collegiate career, and I had to finish. This is part of who I was.
And I love that. So how did you start formulating your own vision to then start building the plan to fulfill your vision?
So check this out. So just like step by step through like my collegiate experience. So my freshman year, you take all the weed out classes, the entry classes, and learned that I love psychology. I wanted to learn about myself. So I decided that was going to be a major for me. But I also fell in love with another intro class, Intro through Evolution Anthropology, which is just a study of evolution and primates and stuff like that. And it just stuck to me. And I was like, I could just go with one major, but I asked myself, like, why can't I have two majors? So I wanted to have two majors, and I asked my academic advisor at the time, I was like, hey, is it possible for me to have these two majors and still do pre-med? She says, yes, it's possible, but it's going to be really hard. For me, when she said that, I took that as a direct challenge. I was like, you say it's really hard, but is it possible? She said, yes, it's possible. So I was like, okay, then I'm going to do it. So I just told her I was going to do it. So she sat down with me and essentially like planned out my entire like college time at Duke. And she was like, well, you don't want to take any pre-med classes during the football season, because that's just going to be too much time. Too much time. You're already traveling, away games during the season. You don't want to spend so much time taking pre-med classes, because you're going to fail out. You're going to fail. You're going to fail, get suspended, whatever. So I was like, okay, can I take them during the spring? Take them during the summer? She was like, your best bet would be the summertime, because in the spring, you still have spring ball. It's a lot of time commitment to spring ball. In the summer, even though it's accelerated, which was like obviously a negative, you'll have that time to just sit down and crank it out in the summer versus in the spring or during the season. So I was like, okay, I have to take all my pre-med classes during the summer. But I still have to fulfill my requirements for my majors. So she was like, well, you already started some of your requirements already your freshman year going on to your sophomore year. These are the classes you need to take to fulfill your majors, your capstones, and we can plan them out and place them. And you take this your junior year, this your senior year, this your rest your senior year, and you should be able to do it. And I looked at it and I just sat there and I was like, man, like it's a lot of school. Like that's a lot of school, and here I'm a sophomore. I became a full-time starter my redshirt freshman year, my sophomore year, and I was like, man, like the team's gonna ask a lot from me because I'm a starter, and I plan to be a starter for as long as I'm there, and but here I am, like essentially like just like killing all my free time with classes.
Yeah, you're a professional student.
Yeah, I'm a professional student, so I was like, man, I just remember thinking about it, just getting feedback from my wife, and I was like, I have such a harder time in school than anybody else, and I realized that. But I was like, you know what? I did get a full ride scholarship, and I have to go earn that full ride scholarship. They're paying for me to be here, so I had to earn that. So I just committed to it. I was like, I'm gonna make the most of everything that's given to me, and that was just what I did. I'm gonna make the most of being here at Duke. I'm gonna make the most of all the awesome professors they have here, all the awesome opportunities they have here. I'm gonna get 2 degrees, and I'm gonna finish my pre-med. Say something happens to me, I get injured or something, I could just go to med school.
Yeah,
I go to med school, and that would be my path from here on out.
I love that you always have like a plan B, right? You're thinking it through where life doesn't stop with just one plan, because it never goes your way.
No.
Like I can't recall when things go exactly the way I wanted. Never happened. And I also love the fact that you utilize the constraint that was placed upon you. And I think you and I talk about this, and like in the concept of weight room and stuff, like, because the resistance that we put upon ourselves, and that's what make us stronger.
Yep.
The constraint you push upon yourself to get double major, to go pre-med, to earn a starting, like those are constraints that actually make you grow as an individual. And if anything, I mean, like I'm looking at your shirt because we're both anime nerds as well. It's like going to like the hyperbolic chamber and just train super hard.
Oh my god!
And then you come out a whole different person.
Whole different person,
right? I always go back to this old Kobe commercial. I don't remember this, where when Kanye was like, oh, I have reached success, and then Kobe's like, well, have you reached success on top success? Or when he say like, are you the same beast but a different animal? And to me, like that hits me different because you can be the
Yes.
same person, but the constraint you put upon yourself, you are going to evolve. Just
You're
like
gonna
that's why
yes.
you love
Yeah.
evolution. Right? We can talk about Taoism in another podcast and nerd out on that too. So when you think this through with your career and you're as a professional student, as a professional athlete, because when you get a scholarship, you are a professional athlete because you are being paid for that.
Yep.
When you first got obviously drafted first round, probably were you the first one from Duke to get drafted first round in a recent?
In a long time, yes.
Yeah.
I can't.
And then after that, it's like Daniel
After
Jones,
that,
right?
Daniel Jones,
Yep.
yeah. So I came out with Jamison Crowder.
Okay.
So I was the first round. I think it was a fourth round at the time, and then we just like started a wave. Obviously, there's like more guys drafted before me. I actually had some really good mentors at Duke. Vinny Ray, he played for the Bengals. He was an 8-year vet. Thad Lewis, all those other guys that I looked up to coming into Duke, they went on to play in the NFL, but there weren't really a lot of Duke football players in the league. And my senior year was when we really started putting Duke back on the map, man. And just me being a first round pick and being able to represent my school in that sense, it was awesome. Then Jamison Crowder came out, Daniel Jones came out, man. We had Lucas Patrick, Mascura, all these other guys. Ross Cocker was a year before me. We had a lot of guys coming out now just on my team alone, and even in the Giants. We have so many Duke football players on the team, and I'm so excited, because at the time Coach Cutcliffe, he recruited me. He coached Peyton Manning, all those guys. So it's actually a funny story around that because Peyton and Eli used to train at Duke. The first time I actually realized that I could play in the league, it was when Peyton came to train at Duke. I can't remember if it was 2012 or something, 2011. He came to train at Duke, and I had to leave early spring practice to go take a test. So I was going through the locker room, and he was there changing, and he turned around and saw me. He was like, "Whoa there, big fella! I like to have someone like you blocking for me one day." And I was just like,
Wow.
amazed. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going to play in the league." Because here's essentially a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Telling me that he'd like for me to block for him. I mean, he could be joking, but like
Yeah.
I took that so to heart, and I just took a run with it. I was like, man, Peyton Manning says he can play in the league. I can play in the league.
Yeah.
So this is a really cool deal, man. Duke was a very special place for a lot of young athletes, not only in the sense for football, but like in all avenues. I still have teammates of mine who went on to be doctors. Finish up the PhD program, the residencies, and they're all living, having fantastic careers. Not from football, but it's what you learn from being a Duke. I had even though it was particularly tough, like I enjoyed the grind, I enjoyed the process there, and will I ever take those classes again? I might have to, but it will all be worth it, man.
Yeah. I mean, I love looking back, especially in my life, is the time that I always reflected on is always the hardest time. And it's the hardest time that actually make me who I am today. And so I do my best every single day not to run away from the abyss, to actually run towards it and then go through the whole process, refine the whole thing over and over again. But even for you to be drafted first round, most people would look at that like, man, that's an accomplishment. You can, you can just call it a day. Everything is good. For you, how do you keep yourself to evolve to the next level? Because once you get to the top of the mountain, you realize there's another mountain you have to climb now.
Right.
So how do you keep motivating yourself to do so?
So check this out, man. Being drafted in the first round was, I was extremely grateful. I mean, here I have the opportunity to essentially take my family out of poverty, and I was just so happy to make my mom proud and honestly to have my grandfather's dream. He wasn't alive at the time, but my grandfather's dream realized, of actually, achieving that American dream for my family. And, but looking back, man, my path was just only beginning. Being a rookie in the league was definitely eye-opening. Coming in, I still had those foundations in me, the discipline, the time management, but it was a whole nother ball game. The speed of the game, learning the different playbooks, and it was eye-opening. But I told myself like, hey, like I have the physical attributes now I just need to properly apply myself when it comes to learning my technique to be able to play in all these games and be a successful football player. So I realized that at a very young age. And there's other things that we can talk about too, especially the trend where the league is going right now for young offensive linemen. It's so tough now because developmental wise, we don't have a lot of times when it comes to like guys who played back in 2005, 1990s, you know, when they have
The game is much faster.
yeah. Oh my God, it's so much faster now. I mean, and I'm trying to get past that learning curve, but it was very tough as a young player. Like they say, the average lifespan of an NFL football player is what, 3.5 years, and I was just like, man, like there is a weed out when it comes to being a rookie in the league, and you have to put yourself that much more ahead of everyone. So I told myself, like, what are the things that are going to separate me as a young football player when it comes to all these other guys? What's going to get me past that 3.5 years? And it really just came to just mastering my craft, man. And the same skills that I learned at Duke when it came to time management and I prioritizing things that I needed to do, I just applied it to football. And it, you know, ended up working out in my favor. I was fortunate enough to get traded to San Francisco 49ers, where, you know, I feel like they did an amazing job of utilizing my talents. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to participate in the 2020 Super Bowl, you know, against the Chiefs. You know, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but, you know, just that the path to getting there, man, is invaluable. Like the lessons that you learn just, you know, going through that season alone, like you can't measure it with anything. So, you know, I was having the opportunity to come here to play for the Jets and be working under Coach Solomon. What an amazing opportunity. And now, you know, this coming season, having the opportunity to work with Aaron Rodgers, you know, a Hall of Famer himself. I mean, like, what can you ask? What more can you ask for, really, as a football player? So, you know, the path never really starts off the way you want it, but if you're honest with yourself and you put in the work and you put in the time, man, you can reap the benefits of whatever position that you're in. I mean, for me, you know, quite honestly, I can tell you, like, my first couple of years was not good. You know, I didn't really see much growth between my first and my second year, and you know, I struggled a lot. But you know, I went out, I sought guidance. I met up with a mentor of mine in football, Jackie Slater. He played 20 years for the Rams, Hall of Famer himself. And I started learning from him. And, you know, just the ins and outs of being a football player, how to stay in the field, how to take care of your body, things to pay attention to. And honestly, like, if I didn't have his guidance at the time, I'd probably be one of those weedouts 3.5 years and done.
Yeah, because if you look at the statistic as well, like most people who are Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer, not many of them are first rounder.
No, not at all. I mean, the first round tag, you know, it honestly, it's good for your family because you know, you get that financial security, but it doesn't really matter, man. You still got to go out there and perform just like anybody else. Yeah. And if you can't perform, like, they will find your replacement. Like, that's just how the league works. And a lot of young guys, they don't fully understand that immediately. And you know, if you don't have the right guys around you, like, to educate you about stuff like that, how to take care of your business and operate yourself when it comes to being a football player in the facility and the football field, like, they will easily replace you. Like, you have to understand, like, this league, you know, we're in the entertainment business, and if you can't perform, they will find someone else to do your job. That's just the reality of the situation. So
how did you deal with the external pressure on the day-to-day basis?
I could honestly say that when I was a young football player, it was very, very, very hard. I had a particularly hard time in Detroit on my first team. Just didn't really know how to manage myself when it came to, you know, dealing with work. And then not only that, but being a young adult, you know, here I have all these new responsibilities, taking care of my family. You know, I was engaged at the time, and, you know, just kind of managing all that, which I didn't really have to do in college, to now doing all that, managing my money as well, but then being asked to do these things that I've really never really done before, to a level that I've never done it before. So, and I realized I had a particularly tough, it was tough, man. And honestly, like, if I wasn't like, if I didn't have that strong foundation in my heart, growing up, you know, in Chicago, what was instilled for me with my mentor, my mom, and all of the important people around me, like, I don't think I would have survived the situation, because like I was essentially just thrown in the fire, man. Like they were like, hey, you're a first round pick, so there's this expectation for you to perform, right? So I'm thinking in my head, like, man, like, you know, they're counting on me. I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. I was like, I never really like gave myself a chance to like actually sit back and like learn. I was just so pressuring myself to perform that it actually just backfired. You know, it wasn't a good situation, man. Like, it sucked. It really did. But I stayed strong, man. And I showed up every day. I just told myself I'm going to work as hard as I can, man. And, you know, I had some really good guidance coming on my third year in the league. Fortunate enough to get traded right before the third season start and to San Francisco. And, you know, I just went on from there, man. I think from that trade, played every game I was available for. Like, I just always on the field, man. And I mean, yeah, I did like most of the work, but I had a lot of family support. My wife supported me. My family supported me. My work for my mentor, even my mentor from back in Chicago supported me all the way, man. And honestly, like, I did all the hard work. I did all the squats. I did all the treatment. I did all that stuff. But if I didn't have that support, man, on the tough days that you're gonna have playing that long in the league, like, I don't think I would get through it without him.
Yeah, and it's so funny, man, because if we go back to school, I always look at school as hard, but it was so straightforward because it's a clear path.
Yes.
You just have to follow. I just got to get A in this class, then I go to the next class. But when you come back, when I got my doctorate, I'm in the real world, like you, where I have to manage my finance, student loans, all that stuff. I'm like, what is going on? It's so much harder. I'd rather go back to school.
Yeah, where everyone just outlined your path, and all you have to do is just do it.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
I can see why people become a professional student for life, just because it's so much easier to just navigate the world through that way. Because like, oh, hey, here's the next step.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, here's the next step.
Yep.
Where, like, you know, running a business, you know, building my craft, being a PT, learning new skill set. Like, these are just different variable, and life kind of throw you variable. And like, they throw a whole kitchen sink at you.
Yeah. You just never know, man. Sometimes you have to go spending time to replace a roof, or, you know, a tree falls in your yard. You're gonna take the time to do stuff like that. Just like little stuff, and obviously like family stuff like as well. Like, you know, I have 2 kids now, and obviously learning how to be a father, not only being a husband, but being a father as well, and how to manage, you know, spending time with my kids and working as well. So there's different life variables that comes up every now and then. But, you know, as long as you know, you have that support system, and, you know, you have that solid foundation, man, you'd be able to handle anything for real. That's it's really what you need, like a strong foundation and a support system, bro, for real.
I think also, like, going back to the whole foundation component, like, if someone who's listening to this are in the trenches right now,
in the trenches, baby.
Yeah, lost. I think all you need to do is give yourself more time to slowly build or feel the ground, so you can start getting some solid footing, and then all you have to do is just go 1 foot in front of the other, right?
Yes. Try not to do more than you're capable of, man. I know this is hard to. It might sound weird, but like, if you're honest with yourself, like, you'll know your limitations. You'll know like your weaknesses and your strength. Obviously, you always work on your strength, because that's gonna define like who you are. But you pay attention to your weaknesses, things that can hold you back in life, or just being in whatever profession. Like you're a business CEO, or you're running a facility, or just being a pro athlete, or a teacher, or anything. Like, you pay attention to your weaknesses, you can definitely find ways to not only make your weaknesses your strength, or if you can't make it your strength, at least accommodate for them. You know, and that's really gonna push you so much more ahead of like you just like, you know, just being like straightforward, just all of my strengths, all of my strength, all of my strength. But when you have those life variables thrown at you, what are you gonna do when your weaknesses are exposed? Yeah, you know, so it's tough, man, and being able to manage all that stuff, and, you know, not like, some stuff happen to you, you might not always have the help that you need to, you know, get through it, but sometimes you have to like just trust yourself and be like, hey, man, I have faith that I'm going to get through this, because, you know, I've built this solid foundation, you know, that I have. And I just know that, you know, what I'm built of is going to get me through it, man. Like, for real. That's kind of how I saw, you know, my first couple of years in the league. I was just like, I'm built for this. You know, like my whole life has been preparing me for this moment. Everything that I've been through in my life, moving from Jamaica to Chicago, going through that culture shock, you know, learning to navigate in Chicago, going through the hardship of being a student athlete in college, learning about myself, time management, discipline. Everything's prepared me for this moment. So I just knew I was going to get through it. Still hard, it's extremely hard, but I just knew I was going to get through it because of of how what was made of, man. So and it's sometimes you can get stuck in this funk where you might lose a little faith, man, but that's when the people around you can really pull you out of it, man. Just pick up the phone, call someone, just be like, hey, man, I need some help with this. Like I'm stuck, either your business, like, hey, I'm trying to figure out this like business venture that I really think is going to be successful, but I'm stuck, mentally. Maybe just picking up the phone and vending somebody can help you make that extra leap that you need to, going from being stuck to actually making that, one foot over the other, making some progress. And, once you get that progress, man, you just keep on going, man. You just follow that momentum and let it take you where it takes you.
I love that, man. I want to echo on that just because as men, we're so good at closing ourselves off, especially when we're going through hard time. And there's almost a sense of like, you don't want to be vulnerable and you don't want to ask for help because you feel less than, especially like in a minority culture where like mental health is not a big thing, right? You kind of you push it all down and you're trying to figure it out. But then by that time, you just feel so alone, right?
Yes,
I think having the ability to, like, that's what friends are for. They're not there just for good time. They're really for bad time to help each other.
I mean, especially, you can probably attest to this too. In minority groups, me being a Jamaican immigrant, mental health was never a conversation that we had in our household. Whenever you had tough times, you just kind of thug it out. You just like kind of shut up and just work. But definitely going to college has opened my eyes up to a lot of things. Especially in majoring in psychology and just learning about the human mind, I've opened myself to a lot of things. I think I was able to, not only help myself learn about myself, but my family as well. Like my mom, her old ways that she had growing up in Jamaica. I was like, Mom, not all the things that we've learned, growing up is true, or as I say, because this is how the psychology works, and this is how people think, this is how people react, and sometimes it's important to express yourself, and say what you feel, because it can help you have some mental clarity, being able to see the path instead of having your judgment being clouded. So I think definitely, I'm a big mental health advocate, man. Like, especially going to college and learning so much. My wife, her PhD in her clinical psychology, I realize how important mental wealth is for a person to have success in their careers, in their life, really. Because I've had my mental struggles. Obviously moving from Jamaica to Chicago, going through college, having the life stressors that I've had in my life, but if I wasn't able to open up myself up and allow people to come in and talk to me, and you could just take like a phone call. You don't even know like how much that can help you. So just making yourself vulnerable for a little bit, and definitely not in my culture. Just going back, just looking at like how my grandpa was, and male figures in my family. Like, you never seen an instance of vulnerability in those men, because they were so pressured into being like these people who always just like get things done and never said anything about how they feel about anything, because it's just never important. But that's not always the case. Sometimes those people might actually need to hear someone else, or talk to someone else about their problems, how much they can help them. So I try to, be the voice, kind of be the voice of reason in my family, especially in my side of the family, because like we just never grew up and have that. We never had those conversations. So I'm trying to break that cycle, man, especially now that I have 2 kids. I'm going to make sure that they know about that stuff.
Yeah, it's frowned upon for sure to talk about it. But I just have a conversation with my wife this morning where if our beliefs affect our thoughts dictate our action dictates our outcome, why wouldn't you want to pay attention or even check in, within yourself? Like, what am I thinking right now? What am I thinking true or not? And, that's why I have all these books, and most of the books is mostly business, but most really it's all personal development. And all I'm trying to get at is how do I gain someone perspective, what they
Right.
went through. And, that's why we love watching movies, right? Because we can see ourselves in the character, and whatever the character's journey is going through, you gain perspective through that, right? So I think going back to like mental wealth that you were talking about is how do we get together during hard time to gain some shared perspective, so that way you can help me out and I can help you out,
Right.
right? Because
Exactly.
you might see something that I haven't seen before, and you can offer me something that's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what's going on. And I appreciate like the friend group, the circle that I have, because it's small, but it's extremely deep.
Yes. And I feel like we just need that general public. We need to know more about that stuff. I always try to, just promote that stuff, man. And because I just know like how much good it can do in any community, really, not just, in my personal household or my family. So I try my best, man. And especially when it comes to like teammates and stuff like that too, man, I always try to talk to teammates, make sure they know that I'm always like, just like available for them, like whenever they need someone to talk to. Could be about work or, just whatever life stressors they have in their lives. Because, I used to be a young football player who went through those life struggles. And, I've had those one or two veterans that I could talk to, and help me through some of those problems and solving those problems when I was navigating as a young player. So I know how valuable that having that extra person can be when it comes to someone like seeing clarity in their life, or just staying on the right path, because being bottled up so much and with your emotions, it's never good for you, man. And honestly, like, you can convince yourself to do like just a bunch of just like stupid stuff, like destructive stuff when it comes to like your career. Like, say like, man, like just talk to someone, man. Form a normative bond with people. Don't be shy about your feelings, especially you're in a tough sport. Like, football is a tough sport. It's a man sport. Like, people pay us to see like men, but like, honestly, behind all that, I'm still a person, man. Like, I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a son. And I'm someone who has feelings, right? Like, I'm gonna feel a certain type of way when it comes to things that happen to me and happen to the people around me. Like, I'm still affected by that stuff, but that's the type of stuff you don't see on Sundays.
Yeah.
You'll never see on Sundays, because I'm also an entertainer.
Yeah.
And
I think that's come with the job, right? You knew that going in, and I think the way that you set up your structure, the support system for you to go through it, I think that's extremely important, because no one can go through life alone. And I say this, that's why community is huge. Having the right spouse is extremely huge.
Yes.
And having the right team, the right people that like, because people who like, like, it's not just your voice that influences, it's the voice of other people. If you hear the same thing over and over again, you're gonna believe it to be true at some point. And if you believe that to be true, you're gonna act accordingly.
Yes.
Right. And just to kind of like give some sage advice, that why I have you here. What is something that you're doing now? Now you're going through. Is this year 8?
I'm going on my 9th year.
9th, okay. 9th year.
Almost year 10.
Almost.
Year 10.
And once you go, like, what is something that you're doing right now to give you the best opportunity to make it to a double-digit career in the NFL that you didn't do when you first started?
Man, there is a lot. I mean, just like taking care of your body, man, when I first got in the league, man, I had no idea what rehab was. Some people would say like, hey, like, you got to like jump in a cold tub after practice because it'll help you not feel as bad the next day. I was like, can't I just go stretch or like whatever, get ready for practice? Like, I never knew like how that could affect my body. And just listening to some of the veterans at the time, they're like, hey, like, you need to get massages every other week or twice a week, whatever. You need to get a massage. You need to go see a chiropractor. You need to see an acupuncturist. You need to do this. You need to do that. I was just hearing all this information. I was asking myself, like, I never had to in college, so why would I do it now? I learned that with the amount that was required for me was going to have repercussions on my body, and I myself was I had this physical characteristics where I would say my body type, it could be extremely dynamic, but the way I saw it, the way I grew to see it, was like it's also a double-edged sword. Like, the more I put out is the more that's going to happen to my body. Like, the more the more work, you go put into your craft, the more your body's going to get jacked up. So I really delved into, like I say, in my third year in the league, I really delved into a lot of the rehab stuff, like massages, started getting massages, started doing yoga, but not only help with your body, but helps with your mind as well. Started doing acupuncture, PT, just a lot of stuff that helped my body recover faster, which would end up keeping me on the field longer. So, and offensive lineman, we're one of the positions on the football field, like we don't get a break. Like, like receivers, you sub out receivers, whatever, tight end, fullbacks. But offensive linemen, we're on the field 100% of the offensive snaps. Like, God forbid you get hurt. That's the only reason those guys will come off the field. But other than that, like, you're on the field. So I tell myself, like, man, I need to be able to handle the stressor of a game and not get jacked up every week so I can come out and do the same thing the next week, right? So I started paying attention to my body my third year in the league. And I really tried a lot of different things. The massage my body responded real well to massage, but what really helped me a lot was acupuncture. Like, I never tried acupuncture before, and I tried it. I remember specifically, I tried it in the spring. I think it was my third year in the league, going into my third year in the league, and I swear, like, I did it like the Tuesday, and I came back the Thursday, and I PR'd in my squat. And I haven't PR'd since I've been in the league. I was like, oh my God, like, my body responded extremely well to that.
Yeah.
Obviously, PR in a squat, my body got jacked up. I was like, okay, like, I've definitely got to go see this guy again next week. So I started putting that in my routine. So developing my routine of recovery after my training sessions. So I took that, I started studying it. I was like, like, how did these guys get to like year 10, year 15, year 20? I just met up with my mentor, Jackie Slater. It was the first time training with him. I asked him questions. I was like, hey, what do you do to take care of your body to get you to your 15th year, your 20th year in the league? And he'll tell me all the stuff that he did. I was like, man, these guys do a lot just to stay on the field. So, for me, I was like, here I'm in my third year in the league. These guys were doing it year 10 and beyond. Like, what if I just get started now? What if I put that time in my body now? What if I invest in my body now, my third year in the league? I bet that will help me, going into year 9, year 10. And, I just gave it everything to it, man. I was like, I'm going to full on do rehab every week of the year. So like now today, I'll tell you that I try to get a massage at least once a week. Try to do dry needling at least once a week. Chiropractor at least once a week. This is 52 weeks out of the year. So I do that year round. It never stops because my job, being a football player, to me is year round. Because we have our 17, 18 weeks in the season, playoffs or preseason training camp, but your job matters so much in the off season as well. January, February, March, April, now, then it matters in the season. I'm preparing for the season right now when it comes to this coming 2023 season. So I wanted to get the most out of my body now to prepare for the future, to prepare for how I'm going to feel going into week 10, going into week 16, going into the playoffs. I want to prepare for that feeling and not have my body be in such a bad shape where I not be able to perform at a high level, in the postseason and beyond, man. So, because I've been to, been in the Super Bowl before, and I've realized like how much strain that puts on the body.
That extra playoff
extra
weeks
games,
is
man.
different.
Come on, man. It's no joke, bro. I mean, just the physical toll and the mental toll. And I played every snap that year. So I was like, man, like that, it takes a lot of the body. But if you pay attention to the little things, in your free time, I still do all my stretches, but man.
Oh, and now there's an extra game.
Now there's an extra game.
And you have an extra preseason game.
Yeah, man. We have an extra preseason game this year. We had the Hall of Fame game this year too. So like,
it all counts.
Yeah, it all counts, man. Like, but if I tried to stress to a lot of the young guys that are around me. I was like, look, man, like start investing in your body now, and trust me, like I don't care. Like, don't really like everyone have their own situation. Like, don't let money become like a like a dire factor when it comes to you investing in your body, because you will get that back. You will get that back. You being able to stay on the field, you'll get that money back. People will see that and people will respect that, and that people will pay for that.
Yeah, dude. I've been saying this concept for so long because again, off season is when people wants to go to DR, they want to go on their booze cruise and all that stuff. But really, that's when you have to refill your gas tank.
Yes,
and extremely important. And what I appreciate about us start working with you is you came in like, hey, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this is what I do.
Yep.
And right before the game, here's what I do.
Yep.
This how can we work together? We're like, all right, we'll come in here because you already have your routine set.
Yep.
Another thing that people, like normal people, don't even think about this, not even pro athletes, which is mind-boggling to me as well, because being a professional athlete, that's how you put food on the table. And like normal people, like the financial industry does a really good thing where like, hey, you got to invest your retirement, take the money out now of your paycheck, put into your 401k. So by the time you're 65, you get all this money. You don't have to worry about that. But what about your body? Why don't you invest into your body? Have a future 401k for your health.
For what your health.
What's your knees going to feel like by the time you're 65?
Yep.
Let's say you have $1 billion, but you can't walk. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
You can't really live the life that you want, right? And
exactly.
As a professional athlete, when I get to work with them, by week 8 and week 10, man, everyone started beating, like they're so beat up. Like week 8, like what I've seen from all the years I get to work with the pros is people who can get through and feel okay by week 10, the rest of the season is a great season for them.
Great season.
People always feel good in the beginning, but it's the week 10.
It's the week 10.
That's when it's a pivotal moment.
Yes.
And what I've noticed is when people come in, someone like you, by week 10, you kind of ramped up what you need to do. You stay on schedule more. You know what you need to do because you know the hard time is between week 15 to 18 when you're trying to make a playoff push. And if you make it to the playoff, guess what? There's extra games that come in.
Extra games, extra paychecks, and extra accolades, man. Like obviously, everyone wants to go get that championship, but you got to think about it. Like you get paid to go participate in every playoff game. And for a young rookie, who's probably, undrafted rookie being on that team, you're getting the same check that everybody else is getting. And that's extra money in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. So you being able to stay on the field and protect your body and help the team win, get to those playoff games, it's extremely important, man. Like it's one of I think it should be the first thing that, that's stressed to these young guys. Obviously, you got to take care of all the business stuff when it comes to like family and your finances, but your body is so important because that's what's going to put food on the table.
And there's a concept that I've learned recently is money now versus money later. And the money now is like what you can generate right now. And the money later is what am I putting right now that will bring me money down the road. So if you're a professional athlete listening to this, you know that if you can stay active, get on a roster, you're going to get pension.
Yep.
Right? So that's money later.
Yep.
So I think the goal, if you were to set small goals, like as a professional athlete or as a college athlete, how do you get yourself on the field as often as possible so you can increase your stock, increase your lifetime value as an athlete? Therefore, people, NFL owners, scout can come look at you like, that's a good investment.
Yes.
We're going to invest in that person.
Yes, because of how well you've taken care of yourself. I honestly wish someone had told me this in college, because like I came in the league, I didn't know anything about that because they don't teach that in college, really. Like a lot of these guys, they have more, they have school, they have like they're really trying to get these kids to lock in on just like the basic disciplinary part of football. So like they don't still have the room to really much like cranked out in those guys. But in the league, you don't have school. Like football is your job. That's your career. That's all you're doing, and you get a ton of free time. But it's not essentially free time, because if you put that time into your body, that's work. Because that's what's going to put food on the table. That's what's going to keep you on the field, and that's what pays the bills. So like a lot of guys, like especially rookies that come in, their first spring, they're like, man, I have all this free time and I have all this money. Like, let me go on like a lavish vacation. Let me go enjoy this money that I have. Enjoy this new status that I have. But like, no, like honestly, bro, like you look back and you think about it, like you have your senior season or your last season in college, you go straight into training, preparing for the draft. You go into combine, senior bowl, or whatever collegiate bowl that you do, and then right after that, you go into rookie minicamp. Right from rookie minicamp to OTAs to vet minicamp to training camp to the season. and beyond to playoff, and fortunate enough to go to the playoffs, you've been playing football for almost a year and a half, or doing football related stuff for a year and a half. Your body, yeah, you need to break it in the season, but like you need to start repairing your body, preparing for your sophomore season. And that's where you see a lot of drop off between like rookie and second year players. It's like they feel like they need to take that time off, but they don't invest that time in their bodies. Like, yeah, you can rest, but you can also do rehab. You can do work on your weaknesses, keep working on your strength, yes, but pay attention to your weaknesses. So I have a bum ankle. Hey, start working on that. Make that a strength for next coming season. A lot of young guys just don't see that. And honestly, I wish someone would tell me that stuff. Like, yeah, I had good vets, but I wish someone would tell me like, hey, like, be very keen to how your body feels at the end of your rookie season, because that's going to have a direct impact in your next year. And that perception from rookie to your sophomore year, like that might be your perception for the rest of your career. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you set yourself up, either to fail or to be successful in the league.
Man, I remember one of my first pro guys I got an opportunity to work with was Devin McCourtney, right? So we were sitting down talking, and we were doing the math. The amount of postseason game that he played, playing for New England, within 4 years, equivalent to another season. Which was crazy because they went to the Super Bowl nonstop and always. And again, like you say, whatever you put out with your body, come back as well. It's also going to compound of how you feel throughout your years, right? And if you have aspiration of just, again, most people aspirations to say, I just want to be a first rounder, boom, make my quick money and then be out. But if you have a greatness that you want to chase, you want to be a Hall of Famer, you actually want to get a Super Bowl ring, you want to go to Pro Bowls, all this stuff, you got to start thinking differently of like, what do I need to do to put myself and give myself the best chance possible to get there? And speaking of working on your weaknesses, you're playing in a sport where people watch film to see what you're horrible at, so they can attack that.
Yes.
So why wouldn't you work on that, right?
So why wouldn't you work on that? Especially like these young guys, like you may not have a college, like a lot of pro film on you, but everyone's gonna know about you by your second year. And trust me, someone either behind you is gonna be watching your film and making themselves better than you, or your opponent, you're gonna be watching that film and they're preparing to beat you on game day. So you better be extremely keen, because it's a doggy dog world in the league, man. Like they say, like if you can't perform, man, they're just gonna get rid of you and find someone else better to do your job. So like, why not pay attention to your weaknesses? Why not go ask that veteran who's made 7 Pro Bowls, who's an All Pro, like, hey, how do you get to year 9? How do you get to year 10? How do you keep yourself healthy, throughout the weeks? How do you do this? What do you think about, on your off days? Like, how do you take care of your body? Like, those are really important questions these young guys need to ask. But these guys, they come in, they already have so many life stressors thrown at them with the money, the responsibilities that they have, that they're just not thinking about it. That's where you need like a good locker room to kind of educate, or just people around them to educate them about that stuff. I mean, I've had guys, I can honestly say, like, one of my favorite teammates when I was in Detroit was Megatron. He was the first person to come to me and actually sit me down. I was like, hey, man, this is what it means to be a first rounder. This is what they're going to expect from you. This is what you need to do to stay on the field. This is how people are going to react to you doing whatever you're doing. And, like, honestly, having that veteran connection at such a young age was so salient to me. Like, some of the stuff that he talks about today, I still practice, and honestly, like, but most guys, they just don't have that. And when you guys don't have that, like, yeah, some guys are able to have the luxury of like just figuring out on their own. Some guys who get drafted high, they have that luxury, figure it out on their own. But say if you're a free agent, you come in and you sign a rookie minimum deal, and you're coming out, you might not get that luxury. You might not get much time in the field. You don't have to go earn your spot in the field. And if you don't get some of those, if you don't steal some of those information, I call it like stealing information. If you don't steal some of the information from the people around you who are trying to help you make the team better, like you might get your chance. Yes. Like, hey, if someone gets hurt, you go on the field for 5 plays. That's your job interview. A lot of these guys, they come in like preseason. A lot of rookies play a lot of preseason games. Sometimes those preseason games is their Super Bowl. That's going to make or break your career. And sometimes, like, if you're not ready for that opportunity, like that whole phase of your life could just go by you. And it's sad to see sometimes, because like you make these connections with these young guys, And I used to be that young guy too. And you're just like, man, wow, like here's this extremely talented person, but like, is he really making the most of everything that he has? Or is it just, you hate to say it, but is this just too big for him? Is the moment too big for him? Can he like properly put himself in the now and be able to get the most out of his body to really like jumpstart the rest of his life? Because it's really that finite amount of time that you get to play this game. Like I'm fortunate to say like, hey man, I've been playing in this league for going on my 9th year now, and I'm extremely fortunate because football is a very cutthroat game. Football is a very violent game. I'm very happy to be continuing to play and do what I love to do, and I'm happy that I'm not hindered by injury. Because you can see what happened last year. With Hamlin, it's stuff like that can just happen, and that could just be it for you.
Yeah.
Like you need to make the most of what you have now to set up the rest of your life, man, because you just never know when your time is up playing this game.
And like in my role where I sit as a physical therapist is I always be honest with guys that we work with. It's like, dude, you're just one injury away from retiring, and it's not on your term. It's most people are not fortunate enough to be able like, I'm calling it quits. It's been a great career. Usually those opportunities are taken away from them.
Yep.
And I would love to get your thought on this. This is the thought exercise I usually do when it comes to running a business. And I call it like it's constrained, induced therapy. We use it like to help with stroke patient where if you cannot use your left arm, you can only use your right. You actually strap down the right arm to force you to use the left. So it goes in along the saying of like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Usually the student will not ready until they face some hardship. So I say, well, if I were to be that student and I need to seek mentorship, can I place that constraint upon myself to force me to be student so I can force the answer? So if you're a young pro guys or college guy listening to this, why don't you put yourself into a situation where if something were to go wrong today, and where would it go wrong? And if that's what's going to go wrong, what will you do about it? And then that's how you formulate plan and strategy of like, okay, if this happened, I can do this, right? But if this happened, I don't have the answer. I don't know what to do. Who do I need to seek out in order to find ways to get through that? If you can go through that, and let's say, for example, you're coming out your first rounder, you're like, okay, I play this position. Here's who I have to go up with. I'm going to go up against D Hops. I'm going to go against the Stephon Diggs this year. Like, okay, what do I need to do? Let's say it's week 10. My left ankle is going to be not feeling the best, and I know he always go on this route. How would I cover him? Like something like that. I was like, I wish guys start thinking like that in week 1 in preseason, so that way they know how to show. And I'm sure the coaches will appreciate it because you're bringing value to the team. At the end of the day, the team wants to win, and they pay you to bring value. I think some people miss out on that, where just like in the business we're in, like we're in physical therapy, we bring value to people to make sure that they can future-proof their body so they can do the things that they want. But if I don't understand what your needs are, then I can't bring value to you.
Exactly. And especially when it comes to working with like physical therapists or just any other people I'm working with that comes to like prehab, rehab, like if I don't know what's going on with my own body and I can't properly tell you what's going on, like how are you going to properly or efficiently help me be my best self? So I take extreme pride when it comes to like knowing exactly what's going on with my body. Like obviously if I have like a major injury, like I go to the trainers of the facility of like, hey, like this hurts, and they tell me like, put me on a rehab protocol, whatever. But if I just have like a nick or something, or like, hey, like something doesn't feel right, like I go figure it out on my own first before I go to any physical therapist. Like, hey, like I don't think my glute med is firing. Like, what's causing that? And then you can probably be like, hell, okay, glute med problem. You go through your protocol. You'd be like, okay, let's test this, and then you see like, okay, there's nothing going on here. Let's work on this and see if that helps your glute med fire. Let's see if this helps your hamstring fire. And then that's how you can properly help someone. If they come and say like, hey, I just can't step this way or step this way, it's going to take you so much more longer to help them figure out what's going on versus someone who's like, hey, I think this is not working. Can you zero in on this particular section of my body? And can you educate me on what's exactly going on? So at a very young age, I was extremely keen onto that because I was like, I want to be as efficient with my time when it comes to my rehab because I don't want to lose out the time. I don't want to waste time figuring out what's wrong with my body. Like a lot of people don't have that information, but you can go learn it by talking to like a physical therapist or talking to a chiropractor, talking to an acupuncturist, and honestly, especially when I do work with you, like I ask you a lot of questions, and I know you pay attention to that because I want to learn what's going on with my body. I want to learn what I can do also to help myself be my physical, my physical best when it comes to game day.
Yeah, and another thing too is like if you're always in the training room and getting treatment and you're always injured, that goes against you.
Yeah, actually,
you're
does.
an investment.
Honestly, yeah, it really does. Like I love everyone in the building, but like if you're just going like just telling them about all your nicks and bruises and stuff like that, like you'll be surprised. Like actually, like if you have a major injury, if something you feel confident you cannot play football, like you should go talk to trainers.
Yeah,
you go talk to trainers because that's like an actual injury. You want to protect yourself and your business. But like, say I just have like I just roll my ankle a little bit and it's like not that bad. I can play through it. If I just say, hey, my knee's just buzzing one day. Like, sometimes you just like, hey, maybe I just need to go sit in the cold tub. Maybe that'll help. Hey, maybe I just need to stretch. Maybe that'll help. Maybe I just need to go see a chiropractor. Maybe that'll help. Like you report like all your injuries, they're gonna have a whole list of it, like small stuff, and I'm like, man, this guy gets hurt a lot, and he doesn't know how to take care of himself, stuff like that. Like, and then when he comes back to you, it's like, man, this guy gets hurt a lot, and they comes to you for you to sign to another team or re-sign with your team. Like this guy gets hurt a lot, and it's like a lot of his injury report because it's put it on a report, and you get to see that. You see that report, they send it to you, and then every year you get to see all of your injury history. And it's like, if you can't take care of a lot of those little stuff by yourself, like they're actually taking away from your money because they don't see you as accountable. You know what I'm saying?
It's a Carfax.
Yeah, it's a Carfax. It's a Carfax.
That's what I tell my pro guys all the time. I was like, listen, man, like when people come to us, we're like, listen, I don't work for anyone. I work for you.
Yes.
I'm here to help you get better. And again, that's the reality. I understand how business work. If you go in and you have this Carfax thing of what you went through, some people will be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you need that. Maybe you just need the league minimum,
yep.
which is still good, but it's not what you could potentially be making.
No. I mean, and there's a lot of ways like around that. Obviously, you have to be smart. Like I always advise, I tell young guys, like, hey, you've got something serious going on. Like when it comes to your body, go to the trainers. They'll take care of you. They'll know the best thing to do for you. But like, if you're just going to go say like all this little injury, like not even the injury, like, oh, I just like this little tweak here and there. Like you don't necessarily have to go this is why I see it. I don't necessarily have to go to the trainers all the time because if I know that I can take care of it myself, like why would I essentially take away from the time they could be spending on guys who seriously needs the time with the trainers versus something I can just handle on my own. So that's how I see it. I was like, and that's a level of accountability because, I would assume that they would say like, yeah, Laken, like, he's a vet. He can take care of himself. Oh, Lewis, is there anything wrong with him? And when he comes to us, there's something wrong with him that he needs help fixing or they can prevent him playing football. But like, do we trust him that he's going to take care of himself? Yes. And does that build like accountability? Yes. Like, do teams pay for that? Yeah, I can tell you that they do. Because if you can handle your own business, and you can still show up on game day and play optimal football, why would they not invest in that?
Yeah.
Because you're helping the team. You're helping the team. So that's just why I say it, man. Because you do have those unfortunate events and where you get guys who seriously get hurt. And I always feel bad. I was like, man, like I don't want to go in there just like nag these guys about this little stuff. And these guys are they're rehabbing an ACL. Like you might need that guy next year. So I want them to be able to have the most efficient time with the trainers versus me. It was like, hey man, I just need like soft tissue on my quad or something, or let's hey, I just need like an ankle massage or a calf massage or something like that. Like, yeah, if I see him there and I have the time, like I'm like, yeah, but they're probably gonna ask you like, hey, are you hurt? And I'm like, oh, I'm not hurt, I just need like some treatment. But if you go in there, I was like, hey, I have a calf strain. Like, yeah, like you have a calf, like how bad is your calf strain? Like, you have like a grade 2 calf strain? Like, is there a tear? Like, go to trainers. But if you just have like a little, like, little tightness, maybe try stretching it out. Try stretch. If it gets worse, just go see trainers. But if it's just like, okay, I feel better after stretch. Okay, what can I do to not have that happen again? Do I need to go get a massage? Do I need to go see a chiropractor? Do I need to do some PT? Is there a muscle group in my body that is weak? These are some things that I pay attention to because I want to make sure my body is optimal, and I don't want to take time away from the trainers that when they need to work on the guys who actually need it.
Man, I feel like it's been a masterclass. Honestly, this has been mind blowing for me. Like I'm learning a lot. Obviously, I think you put a lot of people on game.
Yeah, man. You know,
and again, I appreciate it. But before we go, one last question. So, what does it mean to you to put on a jersey every Sunday with your last name on it? What does that represent?
Man, man, it's for me, especially on game day, it's always been different for me on game day versus any other day in the week. Like for practice, I have a way I go about practice. You know, like you see me outside like the football field, like you say like, oh man, he's a nice guy, whatever. But like on game day, man, I don't know, it's just something real special about game day. It's like everything that you've done to this point in life is preparing for this next 3.5 hours, 4 hours of the game that you're about to play. And when I think about that within myself, just on the totality of my life, bringing myself to that moment, it brings about like, it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a transformation, really. And I just have this like supreme confidence that like no matter what happens, like I'm going to give it my all, and I'm going to enjoy every moment of that. And then putting on that jersey is a part of my transformation. And when I finally put that helmet on and I run out on the field, I'm like this different person, man. And man, it's hard to describe because like I'm describing like more internally, but I'm sure my teammates going to tell you like, it's really not me, honestly. It's like a transformation, really.
It's like an alter ego.
It's like
Bruce Wayne putting on the Batman mask. Exactly,
man. And I just become this different being, man. And I just go out there and just go beast mode, bro. Like it's one of the best feelings. Like no matter what, if I had a bad week of practice, good week of practice, no matter what, man. Once I put the jersey on, once I put the helmet on, I get this feeling, and I just let it take over.
Yeah. I love that, man. I appreciate that a lot. So obviously, you and I can talk for like another 3 hours.
I feel like we really
we didn't even scratch the surface. Like I mean, I think maybe next podcast we can talk about philosophy,
we need to go into anime, man.
I know,
I already brought the anime shirt.
I mean, last question. Top 3 animes. Go.
Oh man, I gotta say Dragon Ball Z. Have to. Another underrated one. Man, I feel like people gotta see. No, underrated one, Yu Yu Hakusho.
We talk about this.
Yes, Yu Yu Hakusho.
First season's the best.
Oh my god, so good. And then like I'm gonna go off the norm here. I'm gonna say a Death Note.
I was gonna say Death Note.
Yeah, Death Note. Extremely underrated when it was written at the time, the manga and the anime. Obviously, I'm into psychology.
Yeah.
So that was just right up my alley when I was watching it at the time.
Yeah.
And man, I say if you haven't seen Death Note, go see Death Note right now. Watch it in its totality. It's an amazing series. Man, I love it. I wish they made like a part 2.
It was anime chess.
It's anime chess. Oh my god. And you know, like animated how they make everything so dramatic. Oh, it's like a psychological thriller.
Yeah. It was easily one of my favorite where like it's only 2 seasons. After it's done, I'm like, yes. I was like, I want more. It was really good.
That definitely is anime I've watched like several times over after I finished it. I think I've watched it like maybe like 5 times.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about anything with any sort of tournament. The live. The tournament power. Yep. Anything with Dragon Ball Z, especially with the Cell Saga.
Oh my God, Cell Saga, even Boo Saga.
Yeah, Boo Saga's good.
Boo Saga, there's such a big gap between like the Boo Saga until like Dragon Ball Super that it was just like, you know, they had like GT, but like nobody count GT.
Yeah.
But like I just missed Dragon Ball so much, and I remember, you know, growing up in Jamaica, coming home every day 5 o'clock Toonami,
Mm-hmm.
you know, watching DBZ, and I just, it's DBZ is such a important part of my childhood. I just, you know, it's always been a part of me, man. That's what I'm
Yeah,
rocking the shirt
everyone
right
always
now.
trying to go Super Saiyan. I mean, same thing, man. Like,
maybe that's me on game day. I mean, I'm
That's
going
it.
Super Saiyan. It's like going crazy, man. But man, I do love anime, man. I watch anime, man. I'm following Super right now. I'm trying to get back into One Piece.
Yep.
Oh man, it's just so many episodes.
Demon Slayers.
Demon
out.
Slayers, the new genre, the new animation, new age animation. Oh, so cool. What else? Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes, I'm watching the movie right now.
You watching the movie? Oh, Zero. Oh,
movie is
it's
very
great. What was the other one?
One Punch Man.
One Punch Man, so classic.
Yep.
I-
Attack is real. Attack is like actually it's the same writer as Death Note. That's why
Really?
it's so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why it's so good. Because I remember I saw it just like way back when. I was like, man, I don't think I'd ever get into this. Then I started. I think it was a couple years ago, and I was like, man, this is a really good anime.
Yeah. The way I look at Attack on Titan is Game of Thrones of anime.
Yeah,
Because everyone
That's
dies.
exactly- that's
no matter,
exactly
like,
what-
oh, you like the character? Oh yeah.
Wait,
they're gonna be
don't
dead.
spoil it. Don't spoil it. Oh man, we could talk about that all day
Yeah.
too, man.
So listen, dude, I really appreciate your time. It's been, I mean, it's probably our longest podcast yet. So all right, whoever come on next has a big shoe to fill. We have to do a part 2. I
we will
appreciate
definitely do a part 2.
the master class, which is this podcast, what it is. I think we can probably turn this into like a lecture in some way. But Laken, man, thank you so much. I appreciate all the wisdom that you share to all our listener. And again, looking forward to see you on game day and just crushing it again.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.